have probably seen the midpoint and distance formula somewhere in 8th grade, probably, hopefully. But we need to kind of detail a little bit about some of the things people forget. Even in Algebra 2, I'd have people get their points wrong. Just remember that it's alphabetical. Sometimes people do y then x, but no, it goes actually to three-dimensional, x, y, and z. And in Calc 3, something like that, they've got these three. So that's the x, that's the y, and that up and down is the z. So just bear that in mind. They reserve the last three letters for left and right, up and down, and through. So that's why we do it alphabetically. Keep that in mind. The first thing we learn is always left and right. You know, Billy walks left 7 feet. The dog runs right for 72 yards. That's always the X. Once you've got a ladder thrown in the mix, and up and down, and if he's digging a hole 6 feet under, you've got the Y's going on here. That is up and down. And again, the first thing we learn are the left and rights. The second thing we learn are the up and downs. So that's kind of in order of first learned, second learned, and if you make it Calc 3, you'll learn the third dimension and how to compute in it. But they'd give you a point, 2, 2, 2, and I'd have to go 2, 2, 2, and that's where I'd plot that point. A little bit different in Calc 3, but so bear that in mind that is something you might need here. Your assignment tomorrow will be on Delta Math, so let me see if I can find a good one from Delta Math here. We'll uncheck all, go to geometry here. Go to the coordinate plane, plotting points. So remember that these are distances from the origin. So if your x is 1, you're going 1 either left or right. 1 being positive, you're going to the right 1. The y being negative 6 means we're going down 6. So right 1 and down 6. We'll have a couple of these where you've got to plot your points. And it'll say whether or not you got it right. Hopefully that's not a problem. 8 from the origin is to the right. Down 4 is down 4. Check your business. Are you right? Oh. What did I do wrong? I only went 7 to the right. So be careful whenever you're doing that. I didn't go far enough to the right. But it does show you a nice little representation of that if you do get it wrong. I wanted to do one that's, let's see, has a 0 in it. This one is neither going left nor right from the origin. The first X says we don't go left or right. But it says we go up 3. So make sure you get those right. And if you've got a 0 as a Y, really it's going to be 1. You don't go up or down at all. This one says go to the 3, but don't go up or down at all, which would be that point right there. So careful with those. In Algebra 2, it becomes apparent, and we use that quite a bit. So since I won't be here, we're also doing the midpoint formula. I'll go ahead and click on this one, but we've got to actually write the midpoint formula information down. 5, 5, and 10, 8. So let's write the midpoint formula down. It says we're going to average out the x's, then average out the y. Remember, it's giving you 2 points here, and we're looking for the midpoint between those two. And that's all you're doing, really. If I wanted to take the average age of everyone here, I'd add up what the ages are, and then divide by how many. So we've added up the 2 x's, and we're dividing by 2 because that's how many x's. Same thing with the y's. In fact, you'll have 8 problems that use this formula, so make sure to remember that. We'll do one of them from Delta Math here. It is 5, 5, and 10, 8. So how do I know which one's which? We're just talking about the x's here. You've got 1 here, and you've got 1 here. You're talking about the y's here. You've got 1 here and 1 here. But they usually use this notation to talk about point 1. So they call that one x1, y1. And this is the second point, so they'll call that one x2 and y2. It helps some people to put that notation underneath it so that way they can remember. We're going to add up the two x's. 5 plus 10 over 2. Adding up the two x's and dividing by 2 means we're going to say 5 and 10, and then divide by 2. Same thing with the y's, 5 and 8. So if you get weird fractions, don't freak out. Most people know that's 7.5, right? Because 14 over 2 would be 7. So we could actually change it over to 7.5. And that's like 12 over 2 is 6. That's 1/2 more, so 6.5. I think it'll take either, though. So let's pull up our Delta Math and see if we can put in the fraction one. What do I do? Did I just lose it? There it is. So make sure you use your parentheses. To do the fraction 15 over 2, you'd want to put 15 and then use the slash to make it divided by 2. You know, that's like the question mark on the keyboard, but it's the slash. Same thing with 13 over 2. And if you mess up, you try to remedy that. Looks like I added that too fast. 13 over 2. What's the deal? 13 over 9. Over. What's the deal here? 13 over 2. 13 over 2. That is ridiculous. We'll try 6.5. There we go. What an ordeal. These apparently can't space after the comma. Go figure. It'll accept that. 15 over 2 and 13 over 2. Also would have accepted 7.5 and 6.5. So if you're having malfunctions like Mr. Townsend was, try to use the decimal equivalent. That's not too bad if you're using the calculators. We sure could have entered that in. We just would have had to use the numerator over denominator button. And then put 13 over 2. And it would have given me 13 over 2, but there's a toggle button that gives you a decimal equivalent. That's to the right of the 3. And that gives you 6.5. Okay? Let's do another one like that. We're running out of time. Again, I won't be here tomorrow, so we need to get as much as we can. Okay? So we'll write this down as DM number 2. Hopefully when you guys are writing down your problems, you're writing them down and showing the steps on your paper that you're going to turn in, because we turn in papers. I need to see that now. Label them X1 and Y1. Label it X2 and Y2. Then try it out. What are our X's? 10 and 5 add up to. You know, it's just from the formula. Add your X's up, divide by 2. Add your Y's up. This one's a little bit weird. 2 and minus 7. So you could just do 2 minus 7. Don't be using two signs. Plus -7 kind of messes people up. So try your best. That is 15 over 2. And that is -5 over 2. Those don't simplify. Most of them do, but let's try to put that on delta math again. What an ordeal. Go space after the comma, whatever you do. 15 over 2, comma, -5 over 2. Looks like it counts it right. You could have also used the decimal equivalent as well. So it even gives you a visual representation of that middle point, halfway between those two. Okay? So keep that in mind. We have those. We need to also go into the distance formula here. Now this will either give you 2 points, or it'll actually give you a coordinate plane. We have to be a little bit careful whenever we're doing that, because we'll have problems like that. But let's write the distance formula down first. It is the square root of the difference in x's squared added to the difference in y's squared. So this squaring it and square rooting it, and this squaring it and square rooting it gives you kind of a distance of those bits and those bits. It's related to the Pythagorean theorem, if that helps. But, you might chalk that one up. You're going to be using that formula quite a bit tomorrow. We're just kind of plugging it in and rolling with it and seeing what happens here. Let me pull up that problem again. This point is -1, -8. A little bit weird on that one. This one is 3, -6.